Have you ever wondered why money and spirituality doesn't gel with each other? Is it because when you are spiritually awakened, you are meant to be poor and broke? But what about other people like Oprah, Eckhart Tolle, and Esther Hicks? They are considered spiritual, right? They are not broke, they are wealthy. Or is it because after spiritual awakening, we swing from one extreme to another and we get stuck in our spiritual ego? Spiritual awakening is a deeply transformative experience, but for many of us, it can also bring about a wave of worry and anxiety, especially when it comes to managing our finances. In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 money traps that you need to be aware of and avoid so that money don't disrupt the peace and joy you experience on a spiritual journey, and more importantly, so that you don't get tricked by your ego. But before I do that, you need to know something about me. 9 years ago, I was pretty broke. I left my accounting job in Singapore to pursue my passion, animation, in Malaysia. I was earning an income in Malaysia ringgit, but I still had Singapore expenses to pay. At the time, one Singapore dollar was roughly about 2.5 Malaysian ringgit. So usually Malaysians will come to Singapore to work to leverage on the exchange rate, not the other way around. I was the crazy one. After I paid my expenses in Malaysia, I didn't have much left to pay for my expenses in Singapore. Each month, I was eating into my saving. What's worse is that after my 6-month contract ended, I didn't want to do animation anymore. I realized it wasn't my passion. So I came back to Singapore. I was feeling lost, depressed, and broke. Each morning, I didn't want to get out of the bed. I didn't have the motivation to get a job. Whenever I tried to write my resume and cover letter, I got panic attack. I was like hyperventilating, worried about my future, and feeling insecure. Those were the worst day of my life, but it also turned out to be the best moment of my life because 2 months into my depression, I had my spiritual awakening. Fast forward to today, I am an author. I have written 7 books. I was doing reasonably well financially for a few years. But 2 years ago in 2022, my income came crashing down. People were not coming to my website anymore. My book sales decreased. I became one of the lowest income earner in Singapore, like literally the bottom 1%. I was earning so little that the government had to give me this transport concession card. But you know what? I am at peace. Being one of the lowest income earner in my country doesn't bother me. It doesn't determine my status, my identity, or my state of well-being. I am actually grateful for the government giving me discount for public transport. So why am I telling you all this? The reason I'm telling you all this is most of us assume that money will give us security. But in reality, what causes the anxiety and worry is not because of how much money you have. It's because you are not tuned in into the right consciousness. All of us have this egoic voice and that spiritual voice. When you're worried about being broke, you're stuck in the survival consciousness. You're stuck in fear instead of the abundance consciousness. It means that your egoic voice is much louder than your spiritual voice. And you trust your egoic voice more than you trust your inner voice. Like in my case, even though my savings were dwindling the first time round, I wasn't doomed. I still have a place to live. I was living in my parents' house, and my parents weren't going to kick me out at that time. I still have some investment which I could sell. Even though I will be selling them at a loss, I will still get some money back. It wasn't the end of the world, but my mind made it seem like it was the end of the world. And when we are in such a fearful state, we can't see the big picture. We can't see what our spirit is calling us to move towards. This time round, when my income came crashing down, I felt rather calm and peaceful. I know that this is temporary. I know the universe is directing me to something else. It's asking me to step out of my comfort zone and open my throat chakra. And I felt this calling to move away from my writing and start this YouTube channel, which I did. I could continue to write more and figure out a way to make things work again. But deep down inside, I know I need to pivot. I don't know how the universe will bring the money to me, but I trust the universe. So I wasn't worried at all. The first money trap you have to avoid is assuming that money will give you security or money will give you joy, happiness, satisfaction, etc. Just fill in the blank money will give you something with anything you believe that money will give you. The thing is, money comes and goes. Money doesn't give you the stability your ego think it will give you. Even if you give you some kind of happiness, it's a very short-lived happiness. Instead, it's your state of consciousness that will determine your emotion or vibration. Even if you are broke, but you trust and believe that you have the ability to make money, then you won't feel stressed and worried. On the other hand, if you are broke and you're in a scarcity mindset, you will really feel very insecure. It really depends on whether you are in a state of fear or you are in a state of trust. Of course, trust doesn't mean that you wait for the money to drop into your lap. You still have to take some form of action, especially when you're called upon by your spirit. If you want the money to drop into your lap, you will need to position yourself for the money to drop into your lap, right? You need to move to the best position to receive the money. Manifestation is a co-creation between you and the universe. It's not like the universe is directing your every move, telling you what to do, and you just wait there like a puppet, waiting for the signs and the universe to tell you what to do. It's also not like you demand the universe to give you everything and just sit there like a king or queen waiting to be served. This is the second money trap I want to talk about. I know some of you may be into the law of attraction or into visualization. You just want to visualize winning the lottery and not do anything to make money. This is possible if this is exactly what your soul and the universe truly wanted for you. Like I have received unexpected money that I didn't have to do anything much. For example, I have foreign publisher that wants to publish my books in foreign languages and pay me royalties in advance. If the universe wants the message of my books to spread to a wider audience, it will make it happen. And I don't really need to do anything. But this is also a result of the action I have already taken. I already wrote the book and published the book. I know how great it feels when you receive money out of the blue and it just show up on your door. But when you keep anticipating money to come and then it doesn't come, you start to feel disappointed and impatient. You start to feel as though the universe doesn't have your back. Then this trust and connection you have will get disrupted. Also, the issue with this is many of us who practice manifestation, we want the money to give us some kind of financial security, a better house, and the freedom to travel around the world. In essence, we are still delaying our security, our happiness, our freedom until we receive the money. Subconsciously, we are telling ourselves that we need this thing, the money, before we can feel secure, happy, and free. This is back to the money trap number one. We assume that we need money first before we can feel a certain way. We forgot to appreciate the slow, stable money we are receiving from our jobs. Being grateful for what you already have right now keeps you in the abundance consciousness. Waiting for something to happen in the future keeps you in a lack or scarcity consciousness. If you're not getting your money you desire now, it means that you're not supposed to receive the money right now. This is what you need to experience right now. I'm not saying that you just sit there and do nothing, but trust means that you know that the universe has your back. It's always doing things for you, not against you. Your spirit will never lead you to unnecessary suffering, like causing you to be broke, unless this is what you truly needed to grow. Like in my case, I need to pivot my business. I need to get out of my comfort zone and speak. If my writing is doing so well, I will never consider overcoming this fear of public speaking. It's also easier to tear down everything and build from scratch than to fine-tune the building that is built on shaky grounds. And that's why many of us who go through spiritual awakening, we'll face financial problems in our journey. Wiping the account clean will help us to loosen out our attachment to money. It serves as a kind of reset so that you can start afresh on a clean slate. It's easier to change your spending and money habits when you have little or no money to deal with. You will become more conscious of how you spend your money. It also forces you to be creative and tap into your abundance consciousness. When I was broke the first time round, I was thinking, how can I be happy without money? How can I feel fulfilled and secure with little or no money? I realized it doesn't take much to feel satisfied. If I don't have money to go to the movies, I can just sit down at the beach and watch the sunrise. If I don't have the money to buy a course or a book, I could just go to the library. It's free. There are also free YouTube videos I could watch online. If I don't have the money to go on holiday, I could just explore my own country. If you are aligned with your spiritual consciousness, you become creative with your resources. You have an abundant mindset. Furthermore, what you want isn't money or possession anyway. What you truly want is the feeling that the thing or money brings you. You want to feel secure. So why not feel secure first? Don't be like, I need to wait for money to come before I allow myself to feel secure. Or I need to buy that thing first before I allow myself to feel happy. But I also know some of you watching this video will be like, well, that's good to know, but I'm struggling to pay my bills and my rent. I'm worried about survival. I'm not worried about these extra little things. I'm fortunate because I get to stay in my mom's home and I don't have to pay the rent. But if I have to pay the rent, I'll probably move to another country that's less costly. I could do house sitting and help people take care of their home. I could live in a van. I could even become a monk if I really caught to. And if I have children and I don't have the money to send them to school, I may homeschool and teach them on my own. Maybe they are just not right for the school system or the conventional system anyway. All I'm saying here is that there are many different ways and avenues you could go about if you are tapped into your spirit consciousness. But when you're stuck in the scarcity mindset, you can only see one perspective. All you can see is, I have no money and I'm stuck and I can't get out of this situation. However, even though there are many creative ways you can leverage your resources when you have little or no money, this doesn't mean that you have to stay poor. And this brings me to my third money trap. After spiritual awakening, some people believe that we have to detach from the material world completely. We have to give away all our money and our possession. We don't care about money anymore. Making money or having money is unspiritual. But this is simply not true. How spiritual a person is not measured by how much money or material possession the person has. There are spiritual people who are financially abundant, like Oprah, Eckhart Tolle, Esther Hicks, and there are many spiritual people who are financial poor, like the monks. Money is not a reflection of how spiritual a person is. Having money doesn't make one person more spiritual or less spiritual. It doesn't make one person better than the other. Eckhart Tolle is not better than the monks. The monks are not better than Eckhart Tolle. It's just a choice of how you want to live your life and what your relationship with money is. After spiritual awakening, it's very common for people to swing from one extreme to another extreme. Before spiritual awakening, you may chase after money, and how much you earn may determine your sense of self-worth or identity. After spiritual awakening, you may totally disregard money, give away all your possessions so that you can be more spiritual. But think about this. Are you getting out of one programming and jumping into another programming? Are you swimming from one egoic identity to another egoic identity, the spiritual identity? I think people mistake apathy, like being indifferent, with non-attachment. They are not the same. The former is, I don't care about money, I don't want to deal with money, while the latter is, I care about money, but I'm not attached to it. There's a difference. If you don't care about money, of course you're not going to get any money because your relationship with money is one of indifference. It's the same like if you are in a relationship with someone and you are like, I don't really care about you. I'm indifferent about you. I don't want to deal with the potential problems that a relationship may bring. Of course, your partner will leave you and find someone else. Non-attachment is more like, I care about you, I love you, but you have free will. If you think that another man or woman is better for you, you can choose a better relationship. You don't have to stay here with me. You are not attached to the outcome. As a spiritual person, I care about money. I care about what I could exchange or buy with the money. With money, I could buy this new wireless mic so that you can have a better audio and watching experience as a viewer. With money, I could buy a new drawer in my room and discard the old cupboard, the one that's damaged and spoiled, so that I can have a better space in my working environment, so that I can have better energy. And how can that not be spiritual? Money is just a tool for exchange. It doesn't matter if you use seashells or stones. If I have something valuable and you have something valuable, we can barter our things or services. Money or currency is just a common denominator we use to value things and services and for us to trade our goods and services. I would like to have more money so that I can see the world, but I'm not attached to it. If I don't get to travel, then I don't. If I make more money, that would be great because I will have more option of where I could go. But when my income came crashing down, I just let it go. I'm not attached to the outcome. I know the money I have right now will be useless once I transit out of the physical world. So I'm not that bothered. A true spiritual person is grounded, regardless of the outcome, whether it's up or down, left or right, zig or zag. You still remain grounded despite losing your money or income. Having said this, there's nothing wrong with living a simple lifestyle with little or no possession. There's nothing wrong with living from paycheck to paycheck. If that is what your soul is calling you towards, then go ahead. However, a healthy spiritual life embraces all aspects of existence, including the material world. They don't disregard the material world. It's not either or. It's not like you either live as a spiritual being or you live as a physical being. You are a human being. You kind of need both the physical, the human aspect, and the spiritual, the being aspect. But the balance is really up to you. Some people are 50% spiritual, 50% physical. Others may be 60-40, 70-30, 90-10. You decide. The reason why we assume that people who have a lot of money are unhappy or unspiritual is because in recent years, we are kind of brainwashed by the media telling us that celebrities and rich people, their lives are unhappy and unfulfilled. Well, these negative headlines sells, but they don't show you rich people whose lives are happy and fulfilled. You can go and talk to some people who are entrepreneurs or business owners. You'll realize that some of them have a really strong purpose. They have a deep connection to spirituality. Not all of them has this, but some of them do. They just don't talk much about spirituality to others. But that doesn't mean that they're not connected to their spiritual self. I must admit that it's actually easier to stay grounded and spiritual when you don't have to deal with money. When you don't have to manage money, you don't have to use your analytical mind as much. If you just withdraw from the world, away from people and money, of course, it will be easier. There wouldn't be so many triggers and temptation. There's nothing around you to attach your identity to. But then I don't think you come here on earth and be a human being just to experience this. You already can experience this as a spirit if you only want to deal with the spiritual realm. To balance the physical and spirituality, that's the challenge of being a human being, but that's also the fun of it. How do you have money and possession and not get too attached or affected by them? This really tests how grounded and spiritual you are. Money is just a form of energy. The more money you earn, the more money you have, the bigger the influx of energy and momentum coming your way. And if you're not grounded enough, like your roots are not deep into the ground like a tree, you get swept away easily by the momentum. You know how sometimes when people have too much money and they do something stupid with the money, like they spend it on partying, drugs, and sex, or they buy random stuff that they don't need, and later they have no money left. It's because it feels uncomfortable to have so much money. The influx of energy and momentum feels too uncomfortable. They don't have a strong spiritual root, and they don't have a strong purpose, and they don't know what to do with all this money. And that's also why many of us who are just spiritually awakened, who are still unstable in our spiritual connection, would rather give up on money and not want to deal with it. That's because we don't want to get knocked out of our spiritual center by this huge momentum that money brings. It's easier to stay conscious without money, but it doesn't mean that you can't stay conscious with money. It's just much harder to do that. Money in itself isn't a problem. The problem is not enough rootedness into spirituality and our consciousness. And this may take some time to master, which brings me to my fourth money trap. If you are experiencing financial stress, don't feel like going back to your old way is bad. For example, if you go back to your old job or a 9 to 5 job to earn some cash to pay your bills or take care of your responsibility like your kids and family, this is totally fine. Don't block or limit your option. I've been back to my ex company 5 to 6 times as a part timer to help them with their workload, like when my ex colleague needs to go on maternity leave. But let me tell you this, each time I go back to my ex company, it actually solidified my commitment to do something meaningful and so resonating. I'm still grateful that I'm of value to my ex company and I appreciate the extra income. When you go back to a job, it may seem like you have regressed spiritually, but you're not. When you're spiritually awakened, you are like a newborn learning how to walk. You're not stable in your connection with spirit yet, and you're not stable in your steps. You still have some wobble in your walk, and that's okay. If you have to go back to the workforce multiple times before you become spiritually grounded, before you're confident walking, that's okay. And even though I say money doesn't provide security, having a little bit of saving and money does help to tame the ego. Whenever the ego is like, oh, you don't have enough money, you have the responsibility to fulfill, like your children to feed, you should be worried, you should be stressed. You can say, hey, look at the saving and investment I have. You are telling me that I should be worried? Are you sure? When you doubt what the ego says with the money you have in your bank, then there is no basis for the ego to create fear and continue its stories. Don't limit yourself by saying, I'm a spiritual person, I shouldn't desire money, I shouldn't have any fear living without any money. If I have fear, it means I'm not spiritual, I'm regressing spiritually. This is a process, it's a journey. It takes time to become grounded in spirituality, and it takes time to get along with your ego. It also took me like 9 to 10 years to not have this anxiety around money. I went through my ups and downs too. When the stock market crashed during the COVID period, I also panicked and sold my stocks out of fear. We learn and get better along the way. When you are in a spiritual journey for a long time, things don't affect you as much. The fourth money trap we need to avoid after spiritual awakening is the prosperity shame. It's not just about shaming yourself for wanting abundance or security or the good things in life. It's also about not shaming other spiritual people for wanting financial abundance. You know how the so-called spiritual people will go around saying like, if you're rich, you're not spiritual. If you are spiritual, you shouldn't be charging people for your course or your coaching service. You should give it for free. You are a slave to the money system if you're working 9 to 5. This kind of programming keeps the spiritual people poor. Spiritual people become collectively poor when we reinforce to each other that poor is the way to go. And when we shame each other for desiring prosperity. When you do this, you're trying to keep other people at the same level as you. You're trying to control other people's belief system with shame. And shaming is a very low vibration. It's nowhere near the vibration of spiritual consciousness, one that is of love, joy, and freedom. So don't shame yourself and don't shame other spiritual people for desiring and asking for money. Basically, if someone offer you a coaching program or course and you don't find it valuable, just don't sign up for the program. That's it. There's no need to shame another person for offering a product or hate them for doing so. And if their product or service is not valuable to anyone, the market will let them know. They will not have any customers. When you shame someone for wanting abundance, whether is it internally or externally, all it shows is that you don't have a good relationship with money. It means that you have money wounds and you still have limiting belief to work on. You may have something against rich people and prosperity. Maybe you think that money is evil, dirty, or materialistic. Maybe you feel unworthy and you see yourself as undeserving of having any money. Maybe subconsciously you are envious of other people's success, that they get to be wealthy and you have to be here spiritual and poor. Maybe you have a spiritual ego and you think that you're better than someone else working in the 9 to 5 like a slave, like you're more spiritual and pure and you don't need any money. Or maybe you just have a bad experience where you sign up for courses and they are crap. I have this experience too, buying courses that weren't really helpful. But that doesn't mean that everyone out there is there to take advantage of you or try to cheat you out of your money. Of course, having said this, the flip side is also true. Not all courses or coaching will truly help you or resonate with you. So you kind of have to use your intuition to guide you and sift through the noise to find the person who can best help you. If you feel a bad vibe about someone, do pay attention to your intuition. The main thing I'm saying here is, if you think you're spiritual, but when it comes to money, you're like, "Ugh." And it's not just money. If anything makes you feel like, or you may want to delve a little deeper and see if there is a block somewhere. Alternatively, you can watch this video about the 5 ego traps that we have to avoid after spiritual awakening.